Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sistren. It's news that's nightly about the Redskins. Welcome to the Redskins Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, the Redskins notched their first victory of the season versus the winless Miami Dolphins in what was dubbed the Toilet Bowl. I talked about this yesterday in the Redskins Rapid React, that it lived up to the hype of the Toilet Bowl. These two teams have a long way to go before they're actually competitive in this league on a consistent basis. While you could argue that one team is trying to tank, I don't necessarily think the Dolphins are trying to tank to lose games intentionally. I just think they're not good roster-wise. And right now they have a coaching staff that's extremely young, that hasn't done this before. So they're making mistakes along the way. And yes, they've purged their roster. So they're looking to build for the future. They're not trying to lose in the meantime. They're just going to lose because they're not very good. So I don't think they're intentionally trying to lose, because if they were, they would have just kept Josh Rosen in the game yesterday. Now, I think they made a mistake by waiting to take Rosen out. They should have made the switch at halftime to get Rosen out of there and insert Ryan Fitzpatrick. If they had done that earlier, they might have come away victorious in the football game. That's no here nor there. They could have simply called a better 2-point play, and they probably would have come away victorious. But again, Redskins get the victory 17-16. And I went back. I had a chance to take a look at the game again. I have some takeaways, some things. We'll delve a little bit deeper into a few things. There were some comments from the video yesterday that I did that I want to address. And so we'll get into all of those things. Let's first talk about the game and talk about some of the positive takeaways, some of the negative takeaways, and then we'll get to some of the comments that were left in the comment section that I want to address here on the program. And also, tomorrow, there were a couple of super chats that were left on my last live video, and I think we're going to do that again tomorrow. I think we're going to open up the phone lines, allow you guys to talk about the upcoming game, where this team stands at right now. I'm going to play some audio from Jay Glazer, and I retweeted that out on my Twitter feed, but we're going to play a little bit of that audio that he talked about with Bruce Allen and his future here in Washington. And we're going to talk about all those things and more. So I think we'll do that on the show tomorrow. But in terms of today, you look at this game, Redskins come away 17-16 winners. It's good for the guys in the locker room. I've said this all along. These guys don't want to lose ball games. No one is looking to lose football games. They put in way too much work during the course of the week to come out and lose on Sunday, and it wears on you. And so I felt like this was good for the guys in the locker room. It's going to keep them competitive. It's going to give them somewhat of a little carrot that's dangling out in front of them. As one viewer put it, and I can't even believe I'm uttering these words, but the Redskins are only 2 games back in the NFC East division. If you can believe that, I don't even want to talk about that, because it's still a farce, and it's not realistic, okay? The Redskins' schedule is really tough, and we're not a good enough ball club. But the fact that we're sitting here 2 games out of first place after starting 0-5 and now at 1-5, it's ridiculous, and it just speaks to how inept this NFC East division is this season. We thought the Eagles were going to be really good, and they still have a chance to be really good, but they've underachieved to this point. The Cowboys got out of the gates, got out of the blocks like world beaters at 3-0, but then if you look at their competition, it's sort of like what I've been saying about the Patriots. You look at the level of competition for the Cowboys, and there's a reason they were 3-0. They've played 3 teams that up until yesterday, only one of the 3 teams had a win to their name. They played the 0-4 Dolphins, who are now 0-5. They played the 0-5 Redskins, who are now 1-5. And they played the 2-4 Giants in their first 3 weeks of the 19 NFL season. So that's how they got off to that 3-0 start. Then the schedule ratcheted up on them at New Orleans, home for Green Bay, at the Jets. And yes, you could say the Jets were a winless outfit until yesterday, but they were without their starting quarterback for much of the season. He hadn't played since week 1. So yes, they had been inept offensively, but I told you, a Greg Williams-led defense is a dangerous defense. And the Cowboys found that out firsthand as the Jets were able to upset the Dallas Cowboys. And now they're 3-3, just like the Philadelphia Eagles. So, yes, while the Redskins are only 2 games back, let's be realistic with ourselves. This is not a good enough ball club to take advantage of what is going to be a very subpar NFC East. It looks like, at least right now, the division this season. But when you look at this game, let's start with Case Keenum. I talked about the fact that I thought Dwayne Haskins could have done everything that he did in this game, and why not play Dwayne? I'm not only going to reiterate that, I'm doubling down on it. There was some discussion in the chat yesterday of the Redskins Rapid React, the R3 yesterday, that I was being, there was too much hyperbole, and I was talking about Dwayne being able to do the exact same thing. Yes, there probably would have been a mistake or two in there. And yes, a mistake or two yesterday would have probably been the difference in the game, most likely. But, I mean, you're talking about two really bad football teams. Who's to say that a Dwayne Haskins interception amounts to anything? We gave the Dolphins the football 1st and 10 from the Redskins 40-yard line, and they went backwards 8 yards and had to punt. I mean, when the game was on the line, we were only up 17-10. They had us pinned deep in our own territory. I told you Tressway had his worst game, maybe even of his Redskins career, obviously of the season for sure. And they had great field position. We gave up a big punt return to Preston Williams. They're at the Redskins 40-yard line, and they snap the ball too low on 3rd down, and they lose 8 yards and go backwards 8 yards and have to punt, okay? That's the ineptitude we were dealing with yesterday with the Dolphins. So, yeah, Dwayne might have thrown a pick, but it might not have led to Dolphins points. Who's to say? We don't know. I don't want to play the what-if game. I just know that outside of 2 throws, there were 2 throws that I looked at and I said, hey, Case, that's some good shit right there. The throw to Terry McLaurin, I talked about this on the R3 yesterday, out of the end zone. That's a hell of a throw, man. I don't care who you are. You couldn't have done it any better than that. That ball was essentially placed in the hands of Terry McLaurin on that play. All right. Great route by Scary Terry, but that was an even better throw by Case Keenum. Props is given when necessary, and that was one of those big up throws. Like, okay, that's a big boy throw right there. And then there was another throw in the 4th quarter. Redskins trying to keep a drive alive. He is able to step up, elude pressure. As he's about to get hit, he throws on the move to a moving target in Jeremy Sprinkle. That defender was right there. It was a perfectly placed football, and it was a completion, and it was a big game for Jeremy Sprinkle. Sprinkle me, bitch. Sprinkle me. And so that was a hell of a throw, too. I got to give him credit for that one as well. But outside of those 2 throws, you're going to hear Bill Callahan say this. We heard Jay Gruden say it a ton, and you're going to hear it anytime Case Keenum is in the game. A lot of plays were left on the table. And I even heard offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell after the game say, yeah, some things were left on the table, some things we got to clean up, but we're happy to get the win. Case did some good things. Yep. But there's that but in there. Left a lot of things on the table, and that's what you're going to get with Case Keenum. And I felt like that when I went back and watched, felt like there was, and I told you, one play in particular, on a 3rd down that could have helped the Redskins seal the deal offensively and not have to turn the ball back over to the Dolphins offensively and put the defense back on the field to try to get a game-winning stop. How about you preserve the game on offense and take knees and win the game the way the good teams do? And so we had an opportunity to do that. 3rd and 3. You know, and I talked about this on the R3, so I don't really need to expound upon this, but I will. Why are you going to a guy that you've had no synchronicity with, no communication or any chemistry with all game long? All right. Paul Richardson had done nothing for the Redskins in this particular game, and you had no kind of chemistry with him. So what makes you think on 3rd and 3 on the most critical down of the game, all of a sudden you're going to be on the same page and he's going to run the back shoulder fade that you're throwing to him? I don't know why you would think that, but in Case's mind, that's what he thought was going to happen. And Paul Richardson takes off the field on a go route. He throws the back shoulder fade. There's no communication. Now, again, and I've been around enough quarterbacks in my life to know this, okay? This is how quarterbacks think, or at least the good ones. And this is what I think they think, okay? I can't be sure of that because the quarterbacks that I've talked to, they haven't played at a high enough level for me to use them as a reference. But again, it makes common sense to me, all right? This is how the good ones probably think about 3rd downs. And this is why you see teams like New Orleans and teams like New England and teams like Green Bay have higher 3rd down conversion rates because they're not looking to reinvent the wheel on 3rd down. There's 2 things that guys are looking for in 3rd down situations. And if both of those things can combine with one another, hell, you got a winner chicken dinner. So the first thing is I'm looking for the guy that I trust the most. All right. That's the first thing they're thinking on 3rd down. Who's the guy that I know 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10 is going to win for me and win big and give me an easy, inviting target to throw the football to? That's the first thing. Now, on certain routes, maybe that guy doesn't have a quick enough route. Maybe on that particular third down call, he's running a 12 back to 10. You don't want to sit there in the pocket on a 3-step drop on 3rd and 3 waiting for a 12 back to 10 to develop. Okay, I get that. So the guy that you trust the most isn't running a conducive route to convert here on this particular third down. So you know what the next thing that quarterback is thinking, the good ones at least? All right, who's in the slot? Can my slot guy win for me? So that's number 2. That's the second thing. Now you would like those two things to marry. With Tom Brady, usually it's my guy that I can trust the most is Julian Edelman. And oh, cool, he's in the slot. So he's going to win for me. You combine those two things, that's who I'm looking for in a crucial situation to wrap this game up. I'm looking for the guy that I think is going to win for me. Oh, and he happens to be in the slot. That makes it even better. But if you're not going to find the guy that you trust the most with, to me, without hesitation, it's got to be Terry McLaurin at this point. It's got to be Scary Terry. So if he's not running a route conducive to converting 3rd and 3, or at least making you comfortable enough to hold on to the football, then how about you go to the slot to Trey Quinn, who's running a simple slant and wins big over the middle of the football field. I mean, let's not try to reinvent the wheel here. Let's not make things more complicated than they need to be. We only need 3 yards. I don't need you throwing a 17-yard back shoulder fade. All right? I just need the slant right here over the middle of the field to end this thing. And it was there for the taking. And so those are the types of situations that frustrate you. You got a third down, and Trey Quinn is running a simple speed out. It's an easy speed cut for 5 yards, easy completion, move the sticks, and he airmails it. Throws it 3 yards outside and too high. What are we supposed to do with that, man? That's an easy move the sticks, keep the drive alive type of completion. And those are the things that Case Keenum does. You put a little bit of pressure on him. There was a third down where the Dolphins came with pressure. Wide open receiver. I want to say it was McLaurin on a slant. Wide ass open. And he panics, back foot flatted, slings it, not even close. And I'm like, dude, the pressure wasn't even close. Take your time, compose yourself. And look, if you got to stand in there and take a hit, that's what you got to do. That is one of the requirements of being a quarterback in this league, is that sometimes you're going to have to man up, stare down the damn gun barrel, take a shot to deliver the rock. And on that particular third down, he wasn't willing to do that. And it cost us. There were opportunities in this game, which is why I said Case Keenum was not very good in this football game, but he was good enough against a bad Dolphins football team. 13 of 25 is never good, all right? Literally, you're hovering around 50% completion percentage. That's not good. That's not good at all right? So I don't want to hear about Dwayne could have went 13 of 25, all right? And the 2 touchdowns to Terry McLaurin, I'm just saying, they were wide-ass open touchdowns. The only thing you're hoping in that instance is that you just don't overthrow them. I mean, those couldn't have been any easier if you walked up and handed them to him. I mean, the separation that he had on both of those touchdown grabs, ridiculous. Now, I will say the first one on the corner route, that's wide open in the NFL, first and foremost. But that was a good throw by Keenum as well. You know, a nice little touch on a corner route towards the pylon. It's a good throw by Keenum as well. And that's an easy throw to overthrow or not put enough air on it and have that be too flat and allow the defender to get back into the play. So I will give Keenum credit on that one as well for his third really good throw of the game. But outside of those 3 throws, the one to Sprinkle, the one to McLaurin in the end zone, and the one to McLaurin out of the end zone, I thought Keenum was really, really basic in this game. And as a wise man once told me, you can't do epic with basic people. So I'm just saying, I like I said yesterday, I'm doubling down on it. Dwayne could have done that. So let me address something before we move on to some other guys that I thought were standouts. There was a comment yesterday that kind of irked me a bit, and I want to address it here. I saw it not once, but twice. And if I'd have just seen it once, I probably would have let it roll off my back and probably wouldn't have mentioned it. But then I saw it again. And so that at that point, I'm finding it to be a bit of a trend, and I need to nip this in the bud because nothing really frustrates me more from fans than when they do shit like this or say things like this. So let me address this right now. It's this whole adage that when you're not in the game, you got to be paying attention at all times. There are 2 sports where, because of the way the game is played and how it's structured, it's so easy to just, kind of be shooting a breeze a bit and not always paying the closest of attention. To me, if you're playing basketball and you're on the bench, you need to be paying attention because at any moment your number can be called and you got to go into the game. But in baseball and football, if you've ever been in those environments, baseball's a really slow game. A lot of time in between pitches and things, whether it's a managerial situation where he's coming out to make a pitching change or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of downtime in baseball. So there's a lot of time for you to be talking to teammates on the bench and laughing and joking and chumming it up. You see it happen in Major League Baseball all the time. I've been in a baseball dugout. I know how those things go. And same thing, if you've ever played football, it really doesn't matter what level you've played it on, but from the high school level up, yeah, look, if you're one of those guys that's getting into the game, yeah, you got to be paying attention, got to have your helmet on and be ready to go in because you may be getting subbed in at any point. But if you're the backup quarterback, unless somebody gets hurt, and Dwayne had his earpiece in, okay? Guys are acting like he didn't have the earpiece in. The camera panned to him at the very moment when he was joking around with Adonis Alexander on the sidelines. And everybody saw that, and Dwayne's not engaged and he's not focused. Everybody wants the guy to be in the Microsoft Surface pad at all times. Stop with the nonsense, okay? Cut your bullshit. I saw it in the comment section twice. He's not even paying attention on the sidelines. He's supposed to be into the game. He is into the damn game, all right? If you've ever been on the football sidelines, you're not watching the game every second of the game, okay? If they're in the huddle, you don't need to be locked in and dialed in. You can be joking with a teammate, all right? I mean, it's just like if you worked in construction and somebody said, and I hate this because fans love doing this in the offseason. When a player posts a picture of them somewhere or they're doing something, why aren't you working on your craft? Why aren't you trying to get better? Are you dumb or something? That's like me saying you work in construction and I see you post a picture on IG of you going to a concert and I'm saying, why aren't you out building a house right now? I mean, that's some dumbass bullshit. I mean, let's be serious for a second. If you're on the sidelines, it's one thing, and I've seen Dwayne do this as well, but it's one thing if we're on the sidelines after a possession and you know how the starting quarterback comes over and he's nestled up next to the offensive coordinator and they're on the tablet and they're looking over what happened. Yeah, Dwayne needs to be over there getting that input in and kind of seeing what's happening for future references when he gets his opportunity. But if you're telling me it's 2nd and 9 and they're in a huddle and the camera pans over to Dwayne and he's laughing with Adonis Alexander, he's not paying attention. Come on, man. Be serious, all right? Be serious for a second. Stop. You've either never been on a football sidelines before in any capacity, or you're just being downright trollish. And I won't stand for it. That's garbage. So miss me with the whole, he's not even paying attention. He doesn't need to be in the game. Stop. Okay? So I just wanted to nip that in the bud because I saw that comment twice yesterday and I'm not going for it. Anyway, back to the game. Offensively, the offensive line for the first time this season, no offensive penalties. What? I'm surprised. Really am. I told you would see a much more disciplined outfit. I told you that. I said I expect them to be much more disciplined. And again, if the officials wanted to throw flags, I saw plays where Morgan Moses had his hands outside of the framework. They could have thrown flags. They just chose not to. And that's the thing about penalties on the offensive line in particular. They're very, very optional, okay? They're subjective. You can throw a flag on every play if you like. They chose not to. Good for the Redskins. They were able to avoid the injury bug, the penalty bug in this particular game, and it did not bite them, and it helped. I mean, we weren't in a bunch of 3rd and 13s in this game, and some of that also had to do with the play calling. I thought some people, like I listened to Brian Mitchell, he wasn't impressed with Kevin O'Connell's play calling. I actually thought he did a really good job. I never at any point in this game felt like we're running it too much or we're throwing it too much. I thought it was a really good balance. There were situations where we went 2 straight passes. There were situations where we went 3 straight passes. There were situations when we went 3 straight runs. Whatever was working. And I thought he did a good job of calling play action off of that. Keenum had an opportunity over the middle of the field on the play action to hit Terry McLaurin, who was wide open. It got deflected at the line of scrimmage. There's nothing you can do about that. But that was a good play call. There were opportunities, as I talked about, where guys were running open and either it was missed by Keenum, or you got to give the defense some credit. They applied some pressure. They made a good play. There was a play with on a crosser, on a shallow crosser to Paul Richardson, that you just got to give the defender some credit. Now, it wasn't the best throw in the world, but you got to give that defender some credit coming all the way across the field to knock that football away. If he doesn't knock that ball away and Richardson's able to catch it and turn up the field, that might have been a touchdown. I looked at the replay. There was nobody. Now, there might have been a defender with an angle on the back end that might have been able to push him out. But that wouldn't have happened until a gain of 35, 40 yards on that play. But it was a good play by the defender. You got to give them credit as well. You look at the run game, obviously. Adrian Peterson was outstanding in this game. Stands for the one fumble down by the goal line that I thought cost us an opportunity to score a touchdown there. And in a game that you win by 4 points is a huge deal. But he was outstanding in this football game. There was a miss to Chris Thompson in the end zone. That was Case going through his progressions and just getting to Chris Thompson a tad bit too late. Thompson was probably his third or fourth read on that play. You could see him going through his progressions, getting to Thompson late, and he didn't have enough on it because of the way he was standing. I'm not going to kill him for that. He was off balance. He was going through his progressions. You saw him late. He just didn't get enough on it. And then again, great play by the defender to knock it away in the end zone, so we had to settle for a field goal there. But I thought the offensive line was really solid. I thought the running game was really good. I thought the play calling was good. I thought the offense overall was solid. 17 points isn't enough. It's not. So, and remember, the first half was putrid for a stretch there. I think the first 4 possessions of the game, 3 and out. So, far from a sparkling offensive performance, but I thought they got better as the game wore on. They got more comfortable. The running game started to really take effect, and I thought that there were some good play calls off of the run. Now we just got to spread the football around. I want to see this offense evolve back into what we were week 1 when Case was getting everybody involved, sprinkle. And let me mention this too. I thought the tight end blocking in this game, it's amazing. No Jordan Reed, no Vernon Davis, and how miraculously the tight end blocking got a lot better in this game, because I saw some really good blocks by the tight ends. And it's a shame that one of them is probably done for the season in Cunningham. He just got here, and I like what I saw out of him, and now he's done for the year with an injury. We had another guy in there, number 88. He blocked well. Now we're going to probably have to bring another tight end unless Vernon is back. But if Vernon is back, that's going to the run game is going to suffer, because Vernon's not a very good blocker in the run game. So it is what it is. You're going to have to probably trade off run blocking for pass catching if Vernon comes back. But we'll see what happens with his concussion. As you go to the defensive side of the football, I mentioned a lot of this yesterday, but I'll reiterate it again. Quentin Dunbar-Dunny was outstanding in this football game. I thought Landon Collins had his best showing as a Washington Redskin. I mentioned that yesterday as well. Had a sack, almost had an interception, had a tackle for loss in the backfield. He missed a tackle on this play, but it was a key miss. Okay, he comes from his safety spot on a screen or a dump down to Kenyon Drake out of the backfield. And if he doesn't come screaming like a banshee out of hell, and Kenyon Drake has to avoid him and then stumble, and then Monte Nicholson cleans him up, that's the first down, possibly a touchdown. And the game's tied at 17 at that point. That's how big of a play that's how big of a potential that play had, if not for Landon Collins coming in and really making an impact on that play despite not making the tackle. So I thought he was everywhere on the football field. Thought he had his best game as a Redskin. I told you we saw a lot of guys getting opportunities. Troy Apke, I thought he had some really good snaps. I thought that we saw Sean Deion Hamilton making an interception and making some plays. I thought he was really good in this game. I thought that I got to stop doing this to John Bostic. I've been dismissing him because I thought he was another journeyman linebacker. Similar, I've got to come to grips with the fact that he's Mason Foster, but faster. And I'm okay with that. Everybody liked Mason Foster except for when he was in pass coverage. He's really reliable. He's solid. He's just faster. And he was good yesterday. He plays with a lot of energy. I like John Bostic. I've come around to the fact that he's a quality lineup, a guy that you can plug into the lineup. I just don't want him starting. That's all. I like John Bostic. And if you tell me he's the first guy off the bench, I'm cool with that. I really am. But I thought he was really good yesterday. You look at the defensive line. We got after Josh Rosen early in the football game. I mean, hell, even Trayvon Hester had a sack, man. We were really getting after him yesterday. Jonathan Allen with a deflection on a third down that got us off the field. I don't think it was going to be a first down anyway. You had one of the linebackers bearing down on the receiver that was going to be the intended receiver on the play, and he was going to be short of the first down. But still, batted ball, good presence of mind to knock that down by Jonathan Allen. He also had a sack in this game. Ioannidis got in there once. It was a collective effort up front. They were winning one-on-one matchups. They were getting to Rosen, making him uncomfortable. Was really pleased with what we got early in the game. I thought towards the end, I don't know if this was a fatigue issue. It was very hot. Or if it was schematics, whatever the case may be. Obviously, you get Ryan Fitzpatrick in the game. He starts getting rid of the football. He was getting into the checkdowns, and I was getting pissed off because he's checking it down to the back, and we're nowhere to be found. I mean, it's 2nd and 16. He checks it down to the back, and now it's 3rd and 2. I'm like, that was a check down, guys. You can't get 14 yards on a check down. But that's what we do. You remember the Giants game. 3rd and 15, and we allow a check down to go for 14 yards and set up 4th and 1. They go for it, and they convert. That's what we do. We give up 14 on a check down. Like, we got to stop doing that. So, Fitzpatrick was getting the ball out of his hands quicker, but we weren't getting pressure in the second half. And this was long before Fitzpatrick got in the game. I thought the pressure was non-existent in the second half. So, I wasn't in love with the defensive play calling. And I watched the Redskins post-game show, and DeQuell Jackson is a regular on the post-game show. And he said, look, I played for Greg Minuski in Indy. He's conservative by nature. When he's up in a game, he's going to dial it back. He wants to keep everything in front of him. And really, he doesn't even have to be up. He's a conservative guy in general. So this is what we've seen. All he's doing is confirming that, yes, I in fact played for him. This is who he is. He's conservative by nature. And so I thought that was really disappointing in the second half. You go up 17-3. I want foot on gas pedal and mashing it. I don't want to take foot off gas pedal and allow them to hang in the game. I want to force an issue, maybe a turnover by Rosen that gives you an opportunity to push this game out of reach, not allow them to stay in the game by just keeping everything in front of you and being conservative. So that's Minuski in a nutshell. We already know what he's about. So I thought that the defensive play calling was aggressive. We saw some cute blitzes, including Landon Collins coming on a safety blitz. How many times have we seen that this season? Not many. But that was all in the first half, early in the ball game, and in the second half, it all went away. Okay, but like I said, on the defensive side of football, there were some things you should be pleased with, but it was the Dolphins. You got to always. I hate to continue to beat that horse because I know it's been long dead, but it's a caveat that you have to consider. It was the Dolphins. We're going up against a team this week. Their offense isn't all that great, but they can run the hell out of the rock. We'll talk about that later on in the week, but. To me, it was a solid performance. Nothing to really be that excited about. You won. You should be excited about that. But outside of that, I don't feel like there's much to build off of to take this momentum and push it into next week other than the fact that you won. And now the guys maybe start believing in the other guys in the locker room and start believing in maybe what we're doing now works and we may be able to start winning ball games. We'll see. I know San Francisco's 5-0. I'm just going to tell you, it's a very winnable football game. And, I watched them against the Rams. That's a winnable football game. I've watched every 49ers game. Their offense, nothing to be that afraid of. It's their defense that's really good and their run game that is extremely good. And if those two things are working, we have no chance. But, again, we'll talk about that later on in the week. Josh Norman, as the game wore on, he got worse and worse. And again, if I were the Dolphins, I would have been targeting him more. He's, to me, right now, a guy just that lacks confidence. He's the same player. He may have lost a step, but he just lost confidence. He's not the same confident player. He doesn't trust his eyes as he once did, and he shouldn't because that's what's gotten him beaten. He's just lacking confidence right now. That's essentially where he is. And I don't know if he'll get it back in a Redskins uniform or ever, for that matter, or not, but he again was a liability out on the football field, and right now he may be the weakest link on this football team. That and Fabian Moreau holding every damn game. You can expect at least one or two things defensively every game, maybe three. One, we're probably not going to get a ton of pressure on the quarterback unless we blitz, and we're not going to blitz very much, so you can kind of correlate the two and draw your own conclusion there. Two, you're going to get a fat Moreau holding at some point, and it's probably going to be on a critical down, 3rd or 4th down, most likely, or in the end zone. And 3, Josh Norman is going to get beat at some point. And it's probably going to be on a critical down or a critical situation, or it's going to be for a big chunk play. So those are things that you should come to expect watching every single Redskin game defensively moving forward the rest of the season. That being said, let's now get to in other news. So we heard from interim head coach Bill Callahan at the presser today after the game. Not really much was said. He was just talking about how excited he was for the guys in the locker room, how they needed to get a victory, how, everybody came together. This was an organizational win. Everybody worked hard in last week's practices to put them in a position to go out and execute. He said all the right things, said all the things that we thought were good things last week, and kind of echoed a lot of those things. He did talk about some injuries. Chris Thompson was the most notable. He went down in this game with a foot injury. Saw him really limping badly after the game to the point where he couldn't even have on his cleats. Saw him limp back to the locker room. Doesn't look good. I anticipate that he'll be out at least a week, probably more than that. But Callahan said that he got an MRI today. The results weren't revealed at this moment, but we'll find out tomorrow if he's got like a grade 3 sprain or whatever the case may be. But I think we're going to see Chris Thompson miss some time, I think, over the next week or two. Being that we've got a Sunday, then a Thursday game, I think it's probably more likely than not we don't see him either until the Bills game or after the bye week. So that's just my personal opinion. But again, I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night, so I'm no doctor, and I don't really know. But I'm just telling you, from what I saw, I don't think he's going to play in the next game, and possibly with the quick turnaround versus Minnesota on a Thursday, probably won't play in the next 2 contests, if you ask me. You had the Cunningham injury to the tight end. That sucks because I thought he actually had a really integral part in the victory yesterday. Did some good things in the run game. He's probably done. Serious knee injury there. You also had DeShazer Everett go down. And the Reeves kid that we liked in the preseason stepped in and actually did some really good things in the game. And Callahan praised him for being able to step in, be the personal protector, get down the field, make some tackles. And I thought we saw him come in, and we were really impressed with him in the preseason. He did some good things in the game, and Callahan talked about that as well. And then he just talked about, wanting to stay dedicated to the run, Case Keenum, how he played, this, that, and the third. Again, nothing that we haven't already heard. But he was excited, you could tell. And I was excited for him and the guys in the locker room. Again, you know how I am. I want to win, but I want to see Dwayne Haskins play as well. And we're not at that point yet. I don't think we're going to see Haskins. I already said, I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to be pushing for Haskins to play until after the Minnesota game. If you tell me, hey, we're going to get him ready for after the bye, I'll listen to that. But I'm still would like to see him after the Minnesota game. That's 10 days off between games, more than enough time to get you a little game plan and get him ready to go versus the Buffalo Bills on the road. So it's a road game, so it's not as much pressure as a home game, which is what we have after the bye versus the Jets. I would much rather him play on the road versus Buffalo. I get it. It's a filthy defense. That's a nasty defense, as nasty as it gets in the league. I get it. I totally understand. But you can employ the same thing you're doing with Case Keenum, which is, hey, we're going to take the football out of your hands, not allow you to make any mistakes. We're going to run the football. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, we're not going to put our young guy in harm's way. That's pretty much what you did against the Dolphins, is run the football. Don't allow Case to F things up, even though he tried by running backwards and doing a pirouette and almost getting sacked at the 1 and then throwing it to the line of scrimmage and almost throwing a pick. But for the most part, you said, hey, Case, we're going to make sure you stay out of your own way. So you can do that for Dwayne. So I'm not getting off of that train. And for those of you who want me to get off, I'm not getting off of that train. All right, I'm going to continue to ride that train. And we have all these stops. We just had the Dolphins stop. I'm not getting off the train on the Dolphins stop. We got the next stop, which is the 49ers stop. I'm not getting off the train on the 49ers stop. Then after that, we got a quick stop to Minnesota. I'm not getting off the train there. But I'm going to really start tooting the horn in Minnesota. Toot, toot. Hey, put him in the game. Get him in the game. So we'll see what happens. But in any event, that's going to do it for tonight's installment of the Redskins Nightly News. I thank you guys for joining me. Remember, tomorrow we're going to have the phone lines open We're going to have that live open forum for you guys. I think we're going to do that once a week moving forward. I like that format. I like the open dialogue that we get to have. And so I think we'll do that tomorrow on the program. And I'm going to play some audio for you again. If you haven't been on my Twitter feed, then you haven't heard it. Or maybe you heard it on your Twitter feed. Or maybe you heard it already. But if you haven't heard it, you'll hear it here first on the Redskins Nightly News tomorrow, as Jay Glazer gave us a little insight. And again, he's not shedding any new light on anything. It's just another opinion from someone outside the organization that has intimate knowledge of the inner workings of what's going on, has contacts, that just feels like maybe nothing's happening, you know? And so we'll play the audio there, and we'll talk more about this team come tomorrow. I thank you guys for joining me. Remember, we've got skin in the game. Why? Because we're Skins fans for life. I'm your man, Louie T. This has been the Redskins Nightly News. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.
Louie T.